A few of our commenters, a couple of them have already talked about some specific components of the plan that relate to economic development. What I want to do is give you some general comments as well, kind of outlining why this is so important to us, why I hope you would find it to be important, and as well talk about a couple specific comments. First of all, as an economic development entity, we've always supported land use planning. Any good community should have intelligent development controls, so we're not calling for any lack of a comprehensive plan. Matter of fact, we think it's a very good thing to do. Second comment I want to make is that my comments are not, and I don't think anyone's comments here are intended to criticize anyone who's authored this plan. This isn't about any person or commission. It's about the document itself and the goal that we have of making it a better document, one that serves this community better and better represents the wishes of this community and better positions us for greater prosperity in the future. Our community is growing and will continue to grow. That's a fact of life. We're the economic center of South Central Indiana. By far, if you look at a comparison of our economic activity to the region, we are well above everyone else. We are the employment hub. We're the home of one of the world's greatest research universities, the location of one of the best and most innovative community colleges, who graciously is hosting us this evening. And we're the regional medical center. Around 50% of medical patients in this community come from outside. We are the hub for employment, the hub for education, the hub for healthcare. That's a good thing. Good communities grow, all right, because they're good places to live, to work, to raise a family, and so on and so forth. And you continue to grow unless you become not a great place, and we think will continue to be a great place. All of us are interested in economic development, and I think it's because everything boils down to a job for someone. That job provides income for that person and their family, and that job provides the tax revenue that funds the basic public services that we've become accustomed to and that we demand, in a sense. So why are we concerned about the plan? You've heard some of this already. First of all, it does not provide a positive vision for future growth. It's unnecessarily prohibitive, contains too much absolute language. You've heard Jim mention the shall nots and so on and so forth. That's language that by its very meaning rules out compromise or further analysis as to specifics, and it's therefore dominated by a negative tone. That's not the approach we think we should have. It's not how we want to present ourselves to the rest of the world, and we don't think it's what the community asked for when they were providing input to this plan many years ago. So I'll repeat, we're the employment hub, we're the place of opportunity, so we should look to a future with a plan that is not reactionary and defensive. We should look to the future by creating a framework that enables us to thrive as a community, and one that gives us that right direction on how we want to go, not just on how we want to stop. And I've mentioned how everything starts with private sector employment, and I want to give you an example, some impact numbers, to help you understand that, why this is so important. And we'll talk about the company PrintPack that we successfully located here just a year ago. This is a company with an existing presence in Monroe County. They're a plastics manufacturer. They actually make, here they make bread bags. So when you go to the grocery store and you're buying brown berry or whatever it is, it's a very good chance it was made in Monroe County, Indiana, all right? They had an old facility. It didn't serve them very well, and they were looking to build a new facility in the United States. And we were in competition with other communities for this. That's a fairly common situation to be in. 151 jobs at this plant. So this is one company employing 150 people. What we were doing was we were competing to keep them here, not lose 150 jobs, and find a space for them to do that. We were able to do that. We were able to find 30 acres zoned appropriately, and they could locate there. And what did that mean? That meant that they invested $52 million. They kept 151 jobs. Matter of fact, they agreed to hire more. And the plant that they built, which is a LEED certified facility, is 4 times bigger than the one they vacated. So we know they're going to increase employment there. And what does that mean? Why is that so important to us? Well, 151 jobs comes out to over $5.6 million a year in payroll, all right? 151 jobs at that company that spending power, the payment of those individuals, the business-to-business transactions that occur, those individuals going home, purchasing goods, buying a home, spending money in the community, helps support another 87 jobs in Monroe County. Okay? So if we were to have lost that opportunity, we wouldn't have just lost 151 jobs. We would have lost 238 jobs, or at least the support for 151 and an additional 87. So due to the multiplier effect of that payroll and that keeping that money in the community, it wasn't just 5.6 million in payroll, it was 8.5, okay? And that's 52 households that we're talking about. That's one employer being able to locate here, a manufacturing employer. And good news is many of our manufacturers are looking at a very positive year ahead, and we hope there's going to be greater growth. That's 52 households affected by that, okay? That shows the importance of having the space, and the ability to support that type of employment growth. In addition to that, there's construction activity that occurs when you land an economic development project, okay? There's 285 jobs associated with that, and another 148 through the indirect effects. That's over $15.5 million in payroll, okay? So that's why it's important to us that we maintain an adequate supply of property and an adequate approach that says to our employers, whether they're looking at moving here for the first time, or in this case, if they're here and wanting to grow. And I'll tell you, most job growth, about 80% of new jobs, come from companies already here. All right? Now, it's incremental, it's one by one, but those are people already here, already paying into the system, already committed to this community. That's who we want to make sure we support. Now I was just telling you about the economic impacts, okay? I wasn't telling you about property taxes, which this company over a 10-year period would pay $2.3 million. I wasn't talking about county option income tax, the local income tax you pay on your payroll, okay? How much you earn, around 1%. I wasn't even talking about those revenue effects that go and pay for the services that serve our community. And by the way, I don't want to bring up this project without saying Monroe County government supported that project. They provided some incentives to it, and they approved it. And we really appreciate that. It wouldn't have happened without that. As you saw from Jim's presentation, we're all very seriously concerned about whether this plan properly plans for an adequate amount of property for business growth in the future, whether they're existing companies or whether or not we're trying to locate someone here. So we have to ask, do we want additional employment? Do we want our employers to grow? How difficult will it be to get approval for a building or an expansion? And where will their workers come from? Will there be enough housing here? In the proposed plan, development is directed into a few primary areas, and notably, as you've heard, the Bloomington urbanizing area. In general, I support the concept of locating development closer to infrastructure. I think that's a sound policy. Yet we have no guidance on the development of that area. The fact of having zero guidance for the development of that area, we might take that a little bit better if the second half of the proposed document, and we have it up here, didn't list in great detail where development would not be considered. There's been a lot of attention to what you can't do. When it comes to what you can do, it's missing from the document. So what's at stake is a plan that clearly outlines what and where development will not be allowed, but asks us to wait on a description of how development can occur in a part of the county where the authors of the document would like to allow growth. So we have serious concerns. Most of the attention is on what will not be allowed. That significantly impacts our community's ability to support future employment growth, which is jobs for our neighbors, jobs for our family, jobs that provide services to all of us. There's no plan for the areas designated for employment. And without adequate employment areas, tax revenue suffers significantly. A year ago, one of our county elected officials talked about the budget crisis, and what they needed was more county option income tax revenue. Well, this is one of the things you do to make sure you've got it in the future. You adequately plan for it. The county option income tax brings in approximately $24 million a year, funding basic services throughout the county. If there's no place for new jobs, there's no new income, no new tax revenue from that. With severe limitations on development, you also place severe limitation on housing for workers. And this is something you hear about from our employers quite a bit, and we have close to 15,000 people driving into Monroe County every day to work, okay, because we're that regional hub. If you negatively impact housing for workers, then your housing, because of the planning document and where you're allowed and how many you can put in a certain area, then housing costs increase. Fewer workers can afford Monroe County. Development's pushed into neighboring counties. Tax revenue is lost, and spending moves out of the community because those who might be working here are living elsewhere. We don't collect the roughly 1% option income tax on those workers that don't live in Monroe County. We collect about 1/4 of that. So if someone works here but resides out of the county, you get a lot less county income tax. So let's draft a vision that supports job growth. We'll all benefit from that, and let's not limit ourselves to where infrastructure currently exists now. Let's plan for where we want infrastructure in the future. Area sewer providers have excess capacity. They could use the revenue generated from new users. But let's make sure we look at infrastructure in this plan as an asset. Sure, we have to pay for it, okay? But it's a primary role of county government, and it's paid for by the people, those of us that are taxpayers, and by the economic activity that occurs within the county. So we don't want to look at it as if we're subsidizing services, because it's a primary role of government to provide for those services, and it's the taxpayers' money that's paying for it. We all pay for those services. I don't think we all subsidize them. We pay for them through our taxes. So without significant revision of, namely the removal of this prohibitive and overly restrictive language, which I think can be accomplished. I don't think it's that difficult to make some changes to some words here, remove the shall nots, make them friendlier, give it more room for interpretation, and we've got a document that many of us might be able to be happy with. We at least have got a better document. And let's make this plan less oriented towards stopping development and more oriented towards planning for future growth in a way that supports the people of Monroe County. I think that's the kind of policy we want. That's how we set a stage for economic vitality. And the way it's written now, I think we are at risk of doing quite the opposite. So thank you.